Hello everyone, thank you guys for tuning in to another video, and in today's video I'm going to talk about something I don't think I've ever talked about or ever wanted to really ever talk about. We're going to get into some politics, dun dun dun. Well, not really, but unfortunately in the United States the pre-orders for the Nintendo Switch 2, which were originally going to start April 9th, have been delayed largely due to the tariffs. Now, what does this mean? The launch date has not changed. It remains June 5th. But, unfortunately, it is likely we might see an increased cost for the Switch 2. It's rumored that Nintendo kind of already calculated tariffs within the Switch 2's price at $450, but I just I don't know. I'm very skeptical about that. One, because of just general inflation. If you take a look at the Switch's launch, even with its outdated tech, it was $299. What would the Switch 2 launch? It still has outdated tech, but better tech than the Switch. It wouldn't be, at most, maybe 400, right? So like 450 makes sense. I don't really see any type of inclusion of tariffs in that price. I think that was just their general price and what Nintendo decided to go with. So I don't think that included any tariffs. And one thing about the tariffs, if the tariffs, the way that they work, geez, started like crazy there. They tariff the cost of the goods. So it's not a general increase on the MSRP of the Switch 2. So there won't be any multiplier from $450. It'll be a multiplier of the cost that it cost Nintendo to manufacture the Switch 2. So if anything, I would say maybe. You also have to really think about this on Nintendo's end too. The United States is a huge part of their revenue. It's very big. They're probably the first or the second in terms of how big their market share is. The United States is huge. So hardware manufacturers typically sell hardware at a loss. Nintendo can eat the cost. They could if they wanted to. They'll make the money back on accessories and software just like Sony and Microsoft. But typically Nintendo sells hardware at a profit. They have sold hardware at a loss before, but they try to sell it at a profit. Now, with that being said, Nintendo is also Nintendo. They're primarily video games. They're an entertainment company. They're not Sony and Microsoft, where they have other divisions that will help them. Prime example, during the PS3 era, the PlayStation brand was losing money like crazy, but because of Sony's TVs during that time, that's what kept the PlayStation brand afloat. Nintendo does not have that. Nintendo is hardware, software. That is the bulk of what they do. Of course, they've had some movies, they've got merchandise, but really the bulk of where their money is coming from is their video games and their hardware. That's it. So they don't really have the luxury to fall back on something. They do have money, obviously. So it's not like they could theoretically use some of that money to absorb some of the cost, of course, but it's very likely with how powerful the Switch brand is and where Nintendo's at, they're going to pass that cost on to the consumer. Maybe it eats away at some of their current profit. Let's just say an example, if they make $40 every Switch 2 sold, maybe with this tariff increase and how they increase their prices, they'll only make $20, right? I don't think they're going to. Or another thing to think about is Nintendo's likely already shipped millions of Switches to the United States. But the thing is with that, I don't think Nintendo's going to say, okay, let's sell through X amount of million that we have, and then after that, we'll start selling them at the increased cost. I don't think they're going to do that. If they raise costs, I think they're going to do it to begin with and stick with that. It would be very foolish of them to say, hey, for this much, during this time, while we have this supply, it's going to be this cost. And then, and obviously no one would know until that gets sold through. But that's just not going to fly with consumers, and it would upset a lot of people. So, unfortunately, it seems like the Switch 2 in the States at least will be delayed. And 2, it's very likely we're going to see a price increase. Well, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next video.